Hey guys, I just want you to listen to this quick discussion about primary sources and just know that I know you guys use these a lot in social studies. You're probably surprised to see them in English, but we do use them a lot. Any kind of informational text that's a primary source, it's important for you to know the aspects of it. We use primary sources when we write research papers, right? Maybe if I ask you to do an interview, that would be considered a primary source. Any kind of personal experience that you write about could be a primary source. So whenever we look at firsthand account, any firsthand account from someone writing in real time, so like a magazine article or a newspaper article, a speech, a diary, an interview, all of those are considered primary source documents. So while we may talk about them differently than you do in social studies class, we still approach them the same way in English. Okay, so you guys know this, you've probably seen this acronym in social studies, and it really has all the skills that you need to be able to access and understand a primary document. So we look a lot at the context in English so much because we consider the historical context of the setting of all of our readings. So when we read something, we think about the setting and when it took place, right? That's very important in English. We also look at the historical context of that the authors are writing in. So what's going on in the world around that author while they're writing whatever it is they're writing. Okay, so we discuss audience and purpose all the time in English, constantly. And so it's very much kind of the same skills as approaching as you would approach it in social studies as well. So we're going to look at this primary source document, and it's a part of the Declaration of Independence called the grievances. So this is the part where they're listing all of the things that King George was doing wrong, right? All of the reasons why they want to separate away from Great Britain. Okay, so when we talk about informative writing, we discuss how it's supposed to be clear all the time, right? It's supposed to be clear, clarity, clarity, clarity. But that's the most important thing. But sometimes there will be some barriers. We don't want any barriers present, but sometimes there are. So we do have some barriers here when we're reading this document, because the problem is we don't use the same type of language that Thomas Jefferson used when he wrote it. So the language is really archaic, it's out of date, right? You can even notice that some of his F's look like, or S's look like F's. So if you come to this fourth line right here, he has dissolved representative houses repeatedly. If you look at this right here, those F's that should be S's, they look like F's, right? Then there's other places where his S's actually look like S's, right? Judges right here. So sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. So I want you to really just, whenever we're looking at a primary source, just think about the use of the language, the spelling, even if it looks old, when we look at old primary sources, just try to be patient with them, okay? So it's important for us to be patient and try to understand what we're seeing when we're dealing with that primary source, okay? So I'm going to read this quote to you, and I like it a lot because the idea is that we are going straight to the heart of the person who was experiencing an event in that real time. Okay, so it says, because primary sources are incomplete snippets of history, each one represents a mystery that students can only explore further by finding new pieces of evidence from the Library of Congress. So again, just that idea that a primary source is written from the heart of that person in real time. So you're not really getting anything biased. It's from them, right? They wrote it. So this is where primary sources kind of fit in English. So we're going to be reading some as we continue our studies of this multi-genre unit. And I really challenge you just to think about whether you're reading a primary source, first of all. And also, when we read other people's works, there are hyperlinks that you can click on to go to that primary source. And I challenge you to do that, just to go try to get some more information to see what you're reading about from someone else's perspective.